Hello, so I'm going to go over how I work with clients, right? How do I do AI integration? How is that set up? What do the strategies look like? Here's an example. So let's say we have a company that does VER surgical training, right? Virtual reality surgical training. It's a beautiful process where we're teaching people now how to do surgery with VR headsets. Like they're in a video game, but the video game is an educational video game, right? And our first, like phase one is I meet up with the client and we figure out this, right? We figure out a flow. We figure out pain points. We figure out what tools you want to use. If you know what tools you want to use, what you want to do with AI exactly. And we figure out just we work together to create this step by step of a process or an overall process of the company, right? Where step one is like BD, find a customer, build relationships, give demos, marketing, right? We have PMs, project managers, where from that step, figure out the contract details, how much is this going to cost, difficulty, timeline, resource allocation. Then from there, you do module analysis where you go to the medical site, you record videos, you document steps, right? And then from there, you do 3D meshes, which is like pretty much a video game term or like, not video game term, but visual design term in the 3D space where virtual reality simulations can use 3D. So then organizing that data, module design, just kind of making the skeleton of the training module, the learning module, right? And then from there, creating drafts that you send to the client to get approval of what's missing. If it's working, you test it. QA goes in there and checks for anything missing. If there's a floating bolt in the middle of the air, right? And lastly, module delivery, right? Deliver the product to the client, right? So we build this together, this step process of whatever it is. I go in there, we figure this out together, right? Then from there, these circle points are the points that I figure out that AI can go into. So this is part of this, like this is the introduction of the strategy, right? Where I show it to you guys. Okay, I see this flow, right? And point step one, step two, step four, step five. These are points that we can implement AI into, right? And then I'll explain how, what exactly does that mean. So like step one, we can do, you can possibly implement a marketing tool. So let's say they're focused on just AI integration. They just want to add AI to their current business. They don't want to make any products. They don't want to make any services using AI. They just want to use AI in their current business flow to make more money in the sense of speeding up how fast their pipeline goes or just saving time, right? Or just saving money. So in this first step, I noticed that, okay, I see how BD works. I see what they're doing. I see what tools they use, but they can possibly use an AI marketing tool that I recommend, one specific to their industry or their clientele base, and they can use to get more clientele or get more prospects, right? And then in this step, where the PMs can use tools that are right out the box, like you don't have to make it, right? That they can use to figure out predictions of how long a contract might take or predict the cost, right? Based on past data that they have from past clientele, right? And then allocation, figuring out who should get allocated to this project, right? And who can handle the stress, right? That can be also done with out the box AI tools, right? So they don't have to create anything. Now, the next one would be that I noticed at step four, they're creating meshes, designing the module and stuff like that. So this tells me that probably someone internally is, after I analyzed through the business and I saw what they do, how they do their stuff, there's most likely going to be people that do integration of tools via like internal coding to create features or tools to add on to like their current tool set, how they build things essentially. And for this, coders, right? Pretty much they're programmers that help this process. And programmers can use out of the box AI tools to help with their coding process. And also they can save money by hiring people that aren't as experienced. They can use these coding tools to be just as good as the experienced people. So that can save them money in the long run and get someone that's loyal that lasts longer. Since they're not as experienced, they'll tend to last longer at a company than someone that's super experienced, right? So that's another way that we can implement AI into this business. And then lastly, I noticed that this module creation process, you can technically automate the QA by doing some quick checks. You creating like a virtual, but do have to build your own tool. There's not really any QA tools out there, so this one would involve building an internal tool that uses AI to kind of do a quick QA before a human does the QA, just to save QA hours and QA time, right? And then, but let's say we go through this and we're doing like a product, right? So let's say right here, I can see module creation. We can add a product to this, right? Let's say you want to charge a customer more, or maybe find new customers that might want a different product that you're providing, where you can create a virtual teaching assistant, right? And that can give you an edge over other competitors in the field, where you have a virtual teacher that's pretty much teaching them how to do surgery without someone physically being there. 'Cause a lot of the times these VR simulations for training people involve a physical instructor there teaching them, but imagine you have a virtual instructor there, and you can build this with many different kind of ways. I've done this before, so I can give my experience on building something like this, help them build a prototype, help them figure out who they need to hire to build this. So yeah, but that's pretty much like a really like quick overview of how I would like come into your business and work with you. This is an example of pretty much one of the processes or one of the things that I offer, which is AI tool integration. Like, this is one of the plans or one of the strategies that I might create. This is just a really rough overdraft, so you can see the process. I kept it very simple, right? Where we have step 1 through step 6, where step 1 is learning exposure. I will create custom teaching videos so that the employees that are going to implement these tools can learn it, right? So let's say we're going to focus on people that do the marketing, right? I'm going to show them how to use whatever tool I decide is best for them to use, teach them how to do it from scratch, showing them the examples, showing them the use cases, showing them, what can happen, what can go wrong, how to deal with it. All these teaching videos to give them that learning exposure to the tool, because they probably have never used AI before and they have no concept of it. So also, yeah, they'll have no concept of it. So I also would teach concepts to them as well, just so they know the nitty-gritty of what's going on. And in case I'm not there or I didn't make a video for it, they might intuitively figure out a solution to a problem on their own, because now they understand the deep concept of which AI technique or what they're doing exactly, right? It's not just magic happening behind the box. Then we go down this time, this chain of how we integrate the tools. We do, this is the first wave, the second wave, third wave, fourth wave. We do these steps, right? And then we reach the last step where we're tracking metrics now. Now, the AI tool is fully integrated into their workflow, into the system, and now we're tracking metrics. How is this improving the business, right? Because you don't want to do it right away. If they're just learning, you might see a negative because they have to learn. So at first, they're not going to be seeing results at first, just because they're learning how to use it. But once everything's fully implemented, we'll see tracking effects, right? We'll keep track of how is this impacting the business in a positive way or a negative way. But it's most likely going to be a positive way, because we already checked the numbers and we know this is going to help them tremendously, right? And we've already have seen some type of improvement in these previous other steps right here. So, and this is just an example of how, this is an example of how I would come in and make a type of strategy and implement it using, this is for AI tool integration, right? We do this for product integration, right? If you want AI into a certain product, we can do this for a lot of different other things as well, okay?